Welcome to the TikTok Boom podcast. My name is Natalie Potts and I work with people on turning their passion in life into successful and sustainable business. Each week I'll bring you an inspiring personal message to help you unlock creating a living life full of energy, gratitude, action and happiness. Today I'm going to be sharing with you around the key to success is being vulnerable. We all have sayings that we use frequently. And although we are consciously aware of these, at times we may be unconsciously aware of how often we use them. So I noticed that I would always say, notice what you notice. And business is about relationships. And in business, you should be constantly challenging yourself to how you show up and raising your self-awareness to understand the impact it has on others. I know the most frequent words I hear from others about myself is the energy and my consistency. They say I'm consistently consistent. On the other hand, I wanted to kind of really consider about what people don't say about me or what I need to know about myself that maybe isn't high in my self-awareness. And it became apparent that when I reflected on this, the idea of vulnerability came to me. I wasn't very vulnerable. And often in my years as a leader, I was given the feedback that people thought I was lovely, but they didn't know me. They didn't know who Natalie was. And I failed to show them that vulnerable side. And I know deep down that some of this was for the fact that I was in very high male-dominated environments, and it often felt that I needed to always show up with confidence, resilience, and an absolute strong influence over the people that I led. And to be transparent was to be weak. And that was the association I put with vulnerability, that vulnerability meant I was being weak. And I didn't want to show this. I didn't want people to see that side of me. But I noticed how powerful it can be when actually you change this and you do start to show vulnerability. And this stemmed from really taking a look within myself and looking at the inner work I needed to do to focus on my development areas and skills. And also that how powerful it could be to share my story, the highs and the lows. It became inspirational to people who looked to be where I was. They would look up to me and they'd say, it's so inspiring, like, how can I be where you are? I'd love to be leading teams. I'd love to be working with people like you are. How do I do that? And I needed to reframe the story. I needed to get really clear in the intention and get clarity to start connecting with these people. And this is exactly the same when building a business. You need to get intention and clarity to start connecting with people in order to build a business and create clients in an organic way that's creative and of absolute service to them all the time. And I didn't want to be seen as that hard-hitting coach when I was in my business who was just looking at them as a sale. And I see that so much in the world. And I think this is where we get caught up in the terms that coaching is saturated or we can't earn any money in coaching. And that's just a limitation that we put on ourselves. And it's a limitation that we probably put on others that doesn't help them move forward. And actually then, strangely, we're not serving those people, are we really? So why is it important that we're vulnerable? Relationships really matter to me. You cannot have a successful business without understanding yourself well and others. And this is why I really focus on slowing everything down when I'm working with somebody. I want them to just be in the moment and get in reality of where they're at right now. I want them to think about what success looks like to them. So I'll ask them, what does success mean to you? I don't want it to just be about money. I want to unpack that and explore that. I really want to get to the deep root of why they want to build a business and their why. What is that? And then what's the cost of inaction? And what if they don't achieve that in their life? What could happen? And the measure of success for me is really around the relationships I build within my business. I want to know how people prioritize everything around their business. So I want to know how committed they are to constantly learning and growing as a coach, because I know that great coaches never stop learning. And part of this process is what I call a deep dive questionnaire. And this is an invitation to get someone to ask some challenging questions of themselves, which they've probably not been asked by anybody or thought of before. And it is hard. It's supposed to be hard because we get to the nitty gritty stuff. We get to explore what is actually holding them back. We can talk about sales, we can talk about creating clients, we can talk about content, we can talk about all those sides of creation, things that everybody sees, but those things are the easy things. The hard things are getting into conversations with people. The hard things are confidence. The hard things are showing up as vulnerable. The hard things about asking ourselves those questions and knowing what we stand for, knowing how we want to come across in our business. What is our brand? All of these questions. And I really want people to develop a trust with me. And a strength I know I acquired in a corporate experience was that by sharing my own challenges and obstacles, it really helped others to feel that they could share theirs. And then together we could look to create some real transformational change that would help them move forward, and the steps they needed to take and the strategy they would have to adopt to make that happen. We are drawn to people like us. We like things to be familiar because familiar feels safe. And Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, the foundational basis of that is around psychological safety. That leads to motivating behavior. And this is where you have to really focus on understanding what that means to you as well, and helping people feel safe, because they can't get to the top, which is a self-actualization. They can't therefore then achieve their potential if they don't unpack and know what that means to them. So by being vulnerable, we can establish the safety needed and build a relationship to the point where self-actualization and higher self-awareness can be achieved. And we can understand exactly what we want and then be able to help others in their life with what they want to. Let's take, for example, when a relationship breaks down. It has that domino effect on everything else in life. This area is unfortunately overlooked because people fail to do the inner work. They'll fail to show up consistently. And consistency is also a foundation to a successful and sustainable business. It's the foundation to growth. And you have to be intentional wherever how I show up. So how can you do this? How can you be intentionally aware of how you come up and how you are shining to other people? How can you be that inspiration I spoke about earlier? So you need to know yourself really well. That's a given. And some of the steps around this that I'll be sharing will help you to start to explore that. But you have to be investing in your personal development. So you might be building a business, but if you're not looking every single day at being really clear about what you want, writing down what you want to achieve and being crystal clear on this, you will struggle to move forward. So I just asked about how can you do this? And that's one thing. It is to write down what you want and be specific as you can. People actually don't know what they want. So many people don't. And the more specific you are, the better chance you have in creating those steps to achieve and manifest what you want. If you're not clear, you'll just go down multiple distraction paths opposed to just one focused area. You'll be that person that might have loads of amazing creative ideas, but you just then scatter your attention and your time. And you then therefore achieve nothing. And you wonder why you feel there is no sense of clarity. You're overwhelmed and you procrastinate. This is why it's really important to write things down and add a date to it. So when we say make a goal and make it smart with a time, that's the reason why. You cannot just visualize. It's about building brick by brick to create that wall. You have to take action by having that structure. You have to have accountability, support, and coaching. And this discipline and consistent action is what you need to have to make things happen. You have to have that vision so strong and reverse engineer backwards to real specifics. So ask yourself again, who do I need to be? If you have a negative energy, you just will not attract what you want. You attract exactly that, negativity. If you put out positivity, you get back positivity. You're making it really hard for yourselves, and humans have the capability to do this all the time and they just don't realize it. So when you aren't attracting what you want, you come from a place that is never around creativity, you're not serving others, and the art of possible isn't there, doesn't exist. You need to be fulfilled and focused on joy, passion, being in a state of gratitude, knowing every day that you wake up that what you have is enough, and being of service to others. That has to be at the forefront of every action you take. So when I talk about knowing what you want, that's about having that vision, being crystal clear on that vision so that every single action you take and every decision you make is aligned to that. And if it's not, you need to challenge yourself on why would you be doing that right now? What is the purpose of that and how is it serving you? And you need to think about what kind of other things would other people say about you. It's a bit about what I shared earlier that, people know you now, but they say you're not vulnerable. They don't know the true Nat. You have to ask yourselves this. So, do people say you're fun to be around? Are you attracting and being the kind of person that you want to be? Who is that? What is that person like around different people that maybe aren't like you? Is that a consistent approach that you have? And keep showing up every single day. This is absolutely crucial. You have to trust that you will plant seeds that you've got no idea when they're going to blossom. You're going to have to take out loads of weeds at the start, and it's going to be painful. But you have to know that when you plant a seed, you often don't see any proof or evidence of anything coming to fruition for a long time. But again, it's this art of the possible. The key is showing up consistently every single day in the smallest little ways. Just keep watering. What action comes in this? What do you need to do? Because it takes years to blossom. It takes time to fertilize, to water, and to grow. And you have to overcome your challenges and improve on your skills every single day. So ask yourself again now, what skills do you need to improve on? Visualize what you want to accomplish every single day and write it down every day. Go back to what we just said about writing down what you want to achieve every single day. See it somewhere, and then this will help you process it, and you'll be able to measure your progress too. Say it out loud. That's not me saying you've got to stand in front of a mirror and say affirmations if it's not your thing. You've got to work out what your thing is. It is not right that everybody does the same thing. You have to trust yourself, and you have to go down the process of failing fast and knowing that not everything will work, but then feeling what does work for you and then being consistent in that. It's those small steps again. So visualize what you want. Say it out loud. And then what if you said to yourself that I'm not enough? At first, that might feel really strange and awkward and uncomfortable. And that's the point. It's that point of being uncomfortable where you need to get comfortable. And a way to do this is repetition. Repetition is the mother of learning, and the repetition becomes the action. You start to believe it more and more. So imagine if you showed up consistently every single day for 5 years in the smallest little action towards what you wanted to achieve. What could you achieve? Could you imagine where you could be in a different place? Could you imagine seeing that change? And that's the point. Change doesn't just happen overnight. So start getting what you want in your mind, visualizing it, seeing it, feeling it, being in that place, and then reverse engineer backwards. What's within your control around that? What's not within your control? And when something's not in your control, you need to challenge, what can you do around that? How can you get to a point where you feel it is more in your control? Because if you don't, again, this can lead to procrastination or overwhelm, or we just wonder, well, actually, do we really want this? And if you're constantly in that state, that's when that negativity brews. And again, like we just shared earlier, that's again when you get in this cycle of negativity. So you need to be really clear on what you don't want and what you do want, and focus on what you do want. And finally, with all of that, it's around reflecting every single day. So all these things about little small incremental steps every single day, consistently consistent. What went really well? What could you do better? What could you improve on? And then what are you going to change and continue? Even if it's the next day, or maybe if it's the next week, again, put a date in it, get committed to it. Because when you commit to something consistently and you start to see the results happening, that's when you hold yourself accountable. And in this time, you'll look back and you'll feel the energy shift of how far you have come. So being vulnerable, being open to really tapping into the inner work you need to do, understanding how others see you, understanding how you show up under tension too. do this in a work piece first. There's no point looking at the stuff that looks all nice and pink and fluffy for your business. You've got to embrace this, because this is just underneath the surface stuff. This is your unconscious. You've got to make this conscious. These are the people doing this work that move forward and have success in their life. So the key to success is being vulnerable. And if this has resonated, please share it with me about what the key elements were for you, what you're going to be doing to be consistent every day, and how you're going to take action, even if the smallest little thing. I want to know about it. So thank you for tuning in to Tick Tick Boom today. I hope, as I've shared, you've taken some value, and please share that with me. Share it with someone who needs to know it and who can help hold you accountable. And share this episode if you know that it will help somebody else right now too. And if you can subscribe to the button, this helps me get out to reach more people and serve more people. And as a coach, that's my job. So go take action, make a difference in someone's life today. Come from a place of gratitude, come from a place of positivity and attracting and knowing what you want, having that strong vision in mind. The key to success is being vulnerable in how you show up.